Previously on Togg's Elite Dangerous Adventures, Rise of the Ancient Evil Scary Thingy. After Togg, Mrs. Togg and Cecil went to investigate the spaceship and found the wonderful space puppy Smurfy. They returned to the house to find out why this little space adventurer came to Earth. Of course, he spilled the beans, and we found out Togg is the hero Smurfy is looking for. Now what? Disclaimer: this production is a poor attempt at humor. It has terrible videography, bad acting, but a hilarious storyline. Well, Togg thinks so. It is based on the older gamers' streaming antics in the fantastic game Elite Dangerous, and some characters are inspired by HCS Voice Packs characters. There may or may not be guest appearances by some of the better Elite Dangerous streamers and other characters that have turned up in the older gamers' stream chat. Yes, I'm looking at you, Soggy Saddlebags.
The night air had become crisp since they were last outside. As Togg trudged across the well-worn path leading to the old hangar, Smurfy trotted beside him. The wind has picked up and now howled through the gaps in the rusted structure, rattling the corrugated metal like a haunted junkyard. The hangar itself was a relic of a bygone era, its once proud sliding doors now slightly crooked, the paint peeling away in great flakes, as if even the building itself had given up on being useful. Togg muttered to himself as he wrestled with the handle, giving it a solid kick for good measure. The door let out an ungodly screech, protesting violently before lurching open just enough for them to squeeze inside. A dust cloud billowed into the air, causing Togg to erupt into a coughing fit.
"Bloody hell!"
he wheezed, waving his hand in front of his face.
"Last time I was in here, my knees worked properly."
Smurfy, unfazed, padded in and sniffed around.
"It certainly smells historic."
Togg fumbled for a switch, and after a few worrying sparks and a pop, the flickering overhead lights buzzed to life, revealing the hangar's interior in all its abandoned, cobweb-ridden glory. The place was a disaster. A collection of rusty old oil cans, ancient toolboxes, and what might have once been a respectable workbench sat in one corner, now home to a family of rats who clearly had squatters' rights. A faded poster of some long-forgotten pin-up girl, Sam Fox, curled on the wall, her once alluring smile now peeling at the edges. Various mechanical parts lay strewn about in a haphazard fashion, as though someone had once attempted to repair something, got halfway through and then decided the pub was a better idea, or had completely forgotten they were actually doing it. However, in the center of all the chaos, sitting on its landing skids like a forgotten relic of adventure, was a ship. There, almost floodlit under the flickering lights, an orange sidewinder, its once glossy paint dulled by time, dust, and sheer neglect. The compact angular hull was unmistakable, a ship built for new pilots, for adventure, for danger, and, in Togg's case, for a lot of bad decisions. Smurfy tilted his head.
"This is your spacecraft? Really?"
he asked in bemusement. Togg sighed.
"Aye, lad. The old girl's been here a while, not seen any action in many years. We were inseparable years ago. She flew like a dream."
Smurfy took a slow, measured look at the ship, then at Togg.
"And you are certain you remember how to fly it?"
Togg shrugged.
"Define certain. I'm sure it's like riding a bike. Once you learn, you never forget."
It was then that Cecil arrived, crashing in with all the grace of a man who had just finished his 8th glass of wine. He leaned against the ship, squinting at it with something resembling fondness.
"Ah, there she is."
Cecil grinned, patting the hull.
"The finest death trap this side of the galaxy."
Togg scowled.
"You watch it, Cecil. She's still got life in her yet."
Cecil scoffed.
"Yes, old chap, but does she have any dignity?"
And that's when Smurfy noticed it. There, spray-painted in massive, uneven letters across the hull, was a single word. Twazzak. Smurfy's jaw dropped.
What in the... You mean this is it? This is the key?
Cecil raised a hand, looking exceedingly pleased with himself.
That would be it, Smurfy. Exactly what you asked for. The key. Here it is. The Twazzak.
That's right, Smurfy. Cecil here vandalized my ship years ago. He thought it was funny. I beg to differ.
Cecil shrugged.
Vandalized? No, old chap. That's a public service announcement.
He gestured grandly to the lettering.
Now, if anyone finds this wreckage floating through space, they'll know exactly who it belongs to. Tog, the Twazzak.
Tog's face turned red.
You absolute insufferable.
National treasure.
Cecil offered helpfully.
Twatbags.
Tog finished. Smurfy, who had been observing this exchange with mild amusement, finally piped up.
I must admit, it does add character.
Cecil pointed.
See? The puppy likes it.
The puppy also thinks I'm the chosen one.
Tog grumbled.
His judgment is questionable at best.
Cecil beamed.
And yet, here we are.
Tog exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples.
Right. Well, if I'm going to be some kind of galactic savior, I suppose I'd better make sure the old girl still runs.
Cecil clapped his hands together.
That's the spirit, Tog. Here we go. The rise of the Twazzak. Actually, the return of the Twazzak. Commander Twazzak. Tog the Twazzak.
Tog looked at Cecil pleadingly.
Please don't call me that, Cecil. That is not a name I would like to be known as. Ever.
Tog responded. But the damage was done. The legend of Commander Twazzak had already begun. Just then, before anyone could move, the air chilled. Ice formed over the orange sidewinder, and their breath started freezing in the chilled room. The air inside the hangar shifted. It was subtle at first, just a whisper of something unnatural, the kind of change that prickled at the edges of the subconscious, that made the hairs on the back of the neck stand on end before the mind even realized why. Tog shivered and looked around, slightly confused, unsure as to why there would be such a drop in temperature.
Bloody hell, it's gotten cold all of a sudden.
Smurfy's ears twitched.
Something is wrong.
He sounded worried. A deep, droning hum began to pulse through the hangar, low and vibrating, like the distant growl of some great, slumbering beast. The lights above flickered erratically. Their failing glow cast jagged shadows across the walls. Cecil frowned.
Okay. Which one of you turned on the ominous doom, gloom, and death noises?
The hum grew louder, deeper. The walls trembled, the sidewinder rattled, the dust that had settled for years now billowing into the air. Then, from the darkest corner of the hangar, something moved. A shadow, impossibly black, began to unfurl itself from the ground like ink spilling across the floor. It stretched, expanded, coiling and twisting, writhing like living smoke. The air around it warped, pulling inward, as if the very fabric of reality had begun to fold in on itself. The temperature plummeted even further. Tog's breath fogged in the air, his fingers gripping Cecil's arm numbed instantly. A creeping, biting chill spread through their bones. Not the cold of winter, not the cold of a mere draft, but something deeper, something ancient, something hungry.
What? What in the name of all things holy is going on?
Tog tried to speak, but his voice was barely a whisper against the growing hum. The shadow swirled, thickening, forming something unnatural, a void unexplainable, its edges shifting, flickering, bending in and out of existence. Tendrils of darkness pulsed from its form, stretching toward them, reaching, clawing. Smurfy took a step back, hackles raised.
This is not possible.
Then, A single pinprick of red, swirling flames ignited within the void, expanding quickly to form the resemblance of an eye, like burning embers in a pit of nothingness. It stared, unblinking, locked onto them with an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. The hum became a roar, shaking the hangar to its foundation. The apparition spoke, a voice, deep and resonant, impossibly distant yet terrifyingly close, reverberating through the freezing air, rattling their very bones.
I see you.
The words weren't spoken. They were felt. They vibrated inside their skulls, echoing in places no voice had the right to reach. Tog gasped as an unseen force pressed down on him, suffocating, his legs trembling under the sheer weight of it. His vision swam. He fell to his knees, caught in a netherworld of grey, shifting images. The eye closed in on him and looked into his soul. Cecil's usual carefree demeanor had instantly vanished. His face was pale, his breath shallow.
Oh dear, Tog. Oh no, Smurfy. That's not good. That's not good at all. This eye seems to see all. Its gaze seems to pierce cloud, shadow, earth, and flesh. This eye lidless, wreathed in flame. What is this monster? From whence does this beast come? We are doomed.